Voilà, Nicolas.
Salut, ça va? Salut, Chris.
Bonjour. Est-ce que vous pouvez ajouter des règles en français ou en anglais?
English, please. Yes, please.
So each team has 20 minutes to present its case to the judge. I will call that assigned for the last 10, 5, and 2 minutes, as well as for the last 30 seconds of this presentation. During the last 10 seconds, I will indicate in my fingers the number of seconds remaining. If you have not finished your presentation after 20 minutes, you will be stopped in order to proceed with the question and answer period. Question and answer period of a maximum of 5 minutes is allocated to the jury at the end of your presentation. Please note that at any time you cannot say or refer the name of the location of the university. I will not let the judge introduce themselves. You can start your presentation when they are finished.
Perfect. That's it?
I'm Julie Cadrin, conseillère en fiscalité géocomptabilité.
Aurélie Desfleurs, I'm a professor at University of Sherbrooke.
I'm Alex Louf, advisor hors DCP du Québec.
I'm Nicholas Morissette. I'm a CIBC with Gandhi Investment Advisor.
Nathalie Hiver, senior instructor at Bishop's University.
So nice to meet you all. Or any of you? Okay. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to start this off with a quote. The best time to plant an oak tree was 30 years ago. The next best time is today. Mr. Bossy, you need to make changes in your company, and we, Dynamite Consulting Group, are here to show you how to make those changes, and we're going to walk you through them, and you'll be able to change your company and make it profitable, and you'll be able to move forward into the future. My name is Chris. These are my colleagues, Patrick and Andrew, and today we'll be showing you how to fix your company, Bossy Inc. So let's start off with an overview, just to make sure we're all working with the same facts. So you're a family-run manufacturer with high-end menswear located in Quebec. And of course you're using ASPE. Pierre, you started to lack energy and you're becoming less involved in the business. And we've seen this as right now it's not working so much for the future of the company. And the financial results have been down in the past few years. Just in the past 3 years, they've been down from year to year. And now, Pierre, you're looking to retire within the next 3 years. So we've taken all these facts into consideration for the rest of our what we're going to be presenting to you today. So with that being said, that brings us to our mandate that we're here to address today. So first of all, what we want to start off with is we want to report on the different strategic options and look at the operational challenges faced by your company, Mr. Bossy. And then second of all, we're going to establish an action plan to ensure the future of the company and ensure that your company can grow not only tomorrow, but for years to come. So with that being said, I'd like to pass it off to Andrew, who's going to be walking us through the succession plan.
So ultimately you told us that your objective was to retire within the next 3 years. And what that entailed was that you needed to have somebody in place that's going to drive this company in the right direction. Now currently the worldwide market has been opening up. It's been much more interactive with other countries. There's a lot more competition that's coming in. You need somebody who knows the business, who's going to be able to provide you the knowledge and skills that you need going forward to make sure that you have the ability to make the company succeed in the future. The 3 options that you provided to us were Jacob Delarose, Louis Bossy, and Georges Blouin. Now these are all 3 people that are very intimately linked to the company. They have knowledge with the company's performance in the past, and they're all related to the Bossy family. So because this is a 3rd generation company, you wanted to keep that in the family, you wanted to make sure that it's successful, we took that into consideration. So the first person that we looked at was Jacob Delarose. Now, this was a wife's nephew, and he's very eager, he's had experience in the company working there, however he does have a bad temper. He has caused conflicts with other workers, and more importantly, he thinks that not only that he deserves that power, but that he's just going to be granted that power in order to run the company as he sees fit. And really, what you need to consider is that those people who seek out power are the ones who should be kept the furthest from it. He may be a good worker in the area, but he does cause problems, and he's not really the ideal candidate for you. So we're going to take a look at the second candidate, Louis Bossy. Now this, again, it's the brother's son. So in the past, there has been conflicts with the brother. He took a lot of money, but he's not necessarily his father's son, in the sense that what his father did is not reflective of his performance. His performance, he's been doing very well. He's been charming. He's got a quick wit. He has the intellect available for it. He's got the degree from JDC, and he's planning to become a CPA. So we know right off the bat that he is knowledgeable. He's very well informed. However, again, there's not that experience with the company that's available. He does know things, but he doesn't have the practice for it. So while he does also intend to keep studying, we know that he's going to be very successful in the future. He may be a very great candidate for the company as well, but we don't actually know what his intentions are either. Does he plan to stay with the company? Does he want to do that? Does he want to go off and work in a firm? Or is he the right candidate for the company? In this case, we think that really he has great potential, but he needs to grow and he needs to learn and he needs to have that workforce experience. So really the most important candidate that we looked at was the one who brought us here today. And that would be Georges Blouin. He had the foresight to know that the company is in trouble. He had the foresight to see that from his 10 years of experience, and really the years that he has left, he has a lot of years left. He has a lot invested in this company, and he has a lot still to give to the company. He has exactly the attitude that the company wants. He's got the objectives of staying in Quebec. He's got the objectives of keeping it family-oriented. He wants to make this company succeed, and he looks out for the workers. The only really downside of him is that he doesn't have that higher education, and he doesn't really intend to take over the company. He's not necessarily a visionary, but these are all things that can be mitigated. So we can take the higher education, well, we can surround him by those higher educated people. So for example, the nephew that wanted to be part of the company, he can help out and he can provide the vision. And really, the fact that he has no intention to rule is actually a good thing. Because the best people, or the great men that succeed, are the ones that not those who seek out the power, but those who have it thrust upon them. So how are we going to proceed with this? Well, in the short term, Georges Blouin should be promoted to the presidency, and Louis should be groomed to develop an interest in the company and to ensure that the company vision and the succession in the future is available, so that when George does decide to move on or decides to retire, that the company will still remain successful and will be able to keep focused on what's important to the company. And this is really the most important part of everything, because that's what's going to drive where you're going to go in the future and what actions you're going to be taking. So we did a market analysis using Porter's 5 forces, and what it told us is, yes, obviously you're in danger. There are threats from outside, the costs are increasing, and overall everything is not looking right for you, but it doesn't really focus on what your company does. Your company, as we mentioned, 3 generations in Quebec. Most of your sales are in Canada, and the majority of those sales are in Quebec. So what does that tell us? That with the hard-working laborers that you have, you can create a niche market that really focuses in on that made-in-Quebec aspect. People are going to love that, people will buy that, and that's how you're going to get to the future with this. So as mentioned, the Porter's 5 forces, it doesn't look attractive, but that's how we're going to mitigate it. We're going to use that made-in-Quebec aspect, and we're going to focus on that. So how are we going to get there? Well, what's the one thing that all Quebecers can agree on? The haves. We have Francis Cartier, who is there as a player who's growing in the future. He's got a bright future available to him. He's born and raised in Quebec, which again, just like the company, very important to us. He's popular with both men and the women, which are the target markets. Currently, all of the focus is on menswear, but that can be expanded. He's popular with both, and he has no negative press, which is also really important, because you don't want somebody in there who's got really bad remarks or a very negative stigma attached to him. So the current proposal includes billboards and displays. And really, because he's in line with the company's vision, he is a very good candidate. We did, however, take a look as far as what he's going to bring to the table for this. So there's an increase of sales of 30 to 35% in 2015, and another increase in 15% in 2016. The current projected spending on this is over $1 million for the budget, though. That's also 2.5 times what the current marketing budget is. So that is a bit of a problem. What this means is that using a discounted cash flow, the overall project is in a negative value. But with the things that he does come to the does bring to the table, there are short-term gains that are available to you, and really some of the things you can do without. So, for example, the radio broadcasting. You're going to be marketing clothes. You can't see clothes on the radio, so it doesn't necessarily make sense to have that cost there. As well, billboards. They do generate a lot of publicity. You can see them; they're very visual. But really, in 2015. How many people are going to be focusing on what they see on the side of the road as much as they are on the text messages on their phone as they're driving? The best place in order to proceed with this marketing is really with the websites, and taking out those two costs, which are the major costs. You can make this a profitable venture, and with what you need to do with the company in the future, it may be the best option to go with as well. So what you should do is look at Francis as a very good long-term prospect. And in the short term, while it's not the best solution the way it's set up, it can be changed so that it can be profitable for you. So I'm going to pass it off to Patrick now. He's going to be talking about some of the other ways that we can make this company profitable.
Thank you, Andrew. So let's take a step back. What we saw here is that the opportunity for you to expand your market would be really with the partnership that you have or with the spokesperson. Now, in order to fulfill this, you need to first of all address the issues that you are currently facing in your company. So there is a machine that you currently have that is broken. Now you have two options. Either you can repair this machine, or you can replace this machine. Now, let's take a look at the pros and the cons of every single option. Now, if you want to repair the machine, well, you will stay true to your reputation. You will have your high quality that will be provided and will remain in your company. Now, if you decide to replace it, however, that quality will be compromised, and that is the biggest factor here, because if you compromise this will lead to an automation of your production, and which is not what you want to do. You value your employees, you like them, and you want to capitalize on that. You do not want to cut on that. You want to stay the small firm that stays in Quebec, and you want to capitalize on this opportunity. So, with the impact of repairing the machine, workers will keep their job, and as well as having a prolonged useful life of 10 years. Now, the useful life, if you decide, however, to replace the machine, will be extended over a period of 20 years. So this is non-negligible. This is actually a very good thing if you could prolong the life of your asset. However, if you do want to stay true to your core values, you have to repair this machine, which will yield a positive NPV of $117,000. Now, because we are deciding to repair this machine, Mr. Benoit has asked us to look at how to account for this transaction. So the way to account for this transaction is in 3 ways. There's first of all the time of signature, second of all the time of delivery, and finally the time of installation. Now, according to ASPE 3061, what this criteria says is that you cannot recognize this expense as long as the transfer of risk and reward has not been transferred. So, in order to do so, you will have to split this payment in 3. So you will first of all create a deferred asset, and by creating this deferred asset, at the time of signature, you will recognize 1/3 of that payable. Okay, and at this time, you cannot capitalize this cost because it is not in your hands, and because of this, it is not owned by Bossy Inc. Now, the second step is at the time of delivery. At the time of delivery, the asset is still not ready to be used. So what is important here is that the risks have been transferred, but the asset is not ready to be used. So we can remove this deferred asset, recognize another 1/3 of that account payable, and the amortization will only begin at the 3rd step, which is the time of installation. So once we install this equipment, when it is ready to be used for its intended use, that's when you will be able to start the amortization, the capitalization and amortization of your equipment, and this will have that prolonged life of 10 years. So then, and only then, can you start capitalizing and start recognizing your amortization on a yearly basis. Now, we'll hand it off to Chris, who will look at new business value.
Perfect, thank you, Patrick. So now we're going to take a look at the valuation of Cassie. So Cassie is a potential company that you have identified for us, and it's a company that we're going to look at together. And so we're going to look at, first of all, the tab, and we're going to look at also the asking price of what the brothers that own Cassie actually right now are asking for. So now, in terms of our tab value, so we look at the total assets, total liabilities, And then there were other assets that were not necessarily weren't on the balance sheet at this moment. So that was the trademark of $125,000. Now we needed to add this onto the actual, into our calculation because it's something that we are paying for. The loss carried forward, this is something that we can use. We can apply it to our gains that we had in the past. We can carry it 3 years backwards, 20 years forward. So this 125,000 can become very useful. So that's definitely an asset. It's something that we want. Then we have to do a couple of fair value adjustments in terms of the furniture. The fair value was $10,000 less over the book value that was actually on the books of Cassie. Again, with the leasehold improvements, same thing. And the hardware, increasing that up to $22,000 more. Now this gave us a tab value of $807,000. And tab, of course, is tangible asset value. So this is the value that you, Mr. Bossy, could go out, buy this company, and then liquidate the entire thing, and you'd be able to get $807,000. So we're going to use this price as the floor price for our negotiations when going forward with this purchase. Now, in terms of our recommendation, so we see that our tab value is $807,000. Now our asking price is from the two brothers that own Cassie at this current point is $985,000. So at this point, we can use the tab value as our floor price. So that's the price we're going to start off with. That's the price we're going to say, okay, we want to go forward with this. $807,000 is going to be our starting price. And we'll go up to the asking price of $985,000. We looked at the evaluation using the projected earnings and everything, and it was over the asking price. So definitely we have room to maneuver. We can go up to that asking price. What we can offer to this company is greater than what they are asking for. We're going to start off these negotiations with this tab value of $807,000 and increase it all the way up to the offering price as necessary. And we don't feel that we'll have to go actually over this asking price. So, other issues. Now, you mentioned to us that there was a lawsuit, a contingent lawsuit, something that there was a company that was suing you because you were using their technology for creating sweaters. Now, under ASPE 3290, we can see that this lawsuit is not something that is likely to happen. It is very unlikely. It is a frivolous lawsuit, and it was told to us by our lawyers that, you know what, going forward with this, there's a very low chance that you'll actually have to pay out anything for this amount. So for this reason, we're not going to have to recognize this on our balance sheet. We're just going to be able to continue as is, and everything's going to be able to continue. In terms of other financing. Now, the building is fully depreciated, but in terms of our financing options, right now our only financing option is going to the bank. But another potential financing option would be a sale leaseback. So that would involve the sale of the building that we currently have right now, which is most probably over the $2 million amount that's actually on the balance sheet. So we would sell that and lease it back right away. This creates a big cash inflow for the company. We can take this money and we can use it for our financing activities, use it going forward as a company. So this would definitely be a very good financing option. So in terms of our bank covenants, we need to always ensure that these are met and renegotiate as necessary. So banks are not in the business of calling loans. So really, right now, we are meeting all but if it gets to a point that you, Mr. Bossy, are not going to meet your bank covenant because of any reason in the future, now you can go back and these bank covenants as necessary, and you need to keep this in consideration. It's not something you can always go back to, but it's something that to keep in mind if maybe you're off by a little bit. Is miss the bank covenant by a large amount, this would be an option. It's if you are missing it by just a little bit. And that would be something to take into consideration moving forward. And you gave us moving forward in terms of the action plan. You wanted a 10% target for net income to increase by December 2014. Looking at this, we saw that it is not necessarily achievable by December 2014 as requested, but is not the primary focus right now. Right now, what you want to do is turn your company around, have those sales going up. Right now, you're losing market share, your revenues are going down. These are very bad signs. So what you want to do, you want to focus on just increasing these, increasing your profit, market share, because this is what's going to make the difference moving forward. Not necessarily meeting this target, but turning that company around and making sure that you're able to maybe one day achieve these targets and even further into the future. So, in terms of the conclusion, so you asked us, Mr. Bossi, to report on the different strategic options on operational challenges. So we looked at succession planning, we looked at the machine, and we looked at the purchase of Cassie. In terms of the action plan, we looked at all the different ways to do it. So we looked at going forward to have George come in right now and to have your nephew, have your nephew work under George, moving forward from that point. Parts moving forward, and with this, we can say that Mr. Bossi, again, always remember that the best time to plant an oak tree was 30 years ago. The next best time is today. Moving forward, changes. Otherwise, you will not be able to get your retirement in 3 years. You will have to. You really need to make these changes to be able to move forward as a company. And with that being said, questions you might have, and would like to thank you for listening to our presentation.
Well, about the acquisition of Casey, could you tell me if you think of that acquisition for our company? Not only for the price, but for the strategic plan. What do you think?
Definitely, yeah. The acquisition of Casey is definitely a strong acquisition that we could do. The reason being that with Mr. Francis, who is the Montreal player, has a lot of influence, and he is within the target market that we are currently focusing on. So he is within the ages of 25 and 49, and which is exactly what you want to pursue as your target market. Now, they focus specifically on women's wear, so high-end women's wear. Our strength, or Bossi's strength, is really menswear. So they will not only work well together, but they will complement each other. So it is strongly